Well, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us at this conversation for the Cordon Bleu. My name is Matthieu Longuere. I'm a master sommelier. I'm the wine development manager at the school in London. And with me today, we have Carl El Khoury, who is one of our alumni, but I will let Carl introduce himself.
Thank you, Matthieu. My name is Carl El Khoury. I'm an alumni of the Cordon Bleu. I studied last year plant-based cuisine, and then I followed that with wine gastronomy and management. So I was Matthieu's student. And I'm currently in the process of starting my own business, a vegan French casual eatery, Metropolitan. So keep your eyes open for that.
No, thank you, Carl. Well, we're going straight into the topic. Before actually we start our conversation, feel free to interact with our conversation. You have a chat box. So we definitely want you to interact with us. We don't want to get bored. So we're going to start straight away. So when you're doing food and wine pairing, what are the goal of food and wine pairing for you?
So whether it's vegan or non-vegan food, I would say that the main objective of food and wine pairing is to find a balance between the qualities of the food and the qualities of the wine. So basically, you have to look at it as a dance between two partners, and you want each partner to enhance the positive traits of the other partner. So you don't want one partner to overshadow the other partner. So definitely, one of the most important factors is not to lose any flavors, whether it's in the food or in the wine, and to maintain a balance.
Oh, okay, thank you. And what are the main characteristics that you find in the wine that are going to help you interact with food?
So I would say, well, obviously, when you taste a wine, you don't need to be a master sommelier or a professional wine taster to scrutinize every detail of the wine. I would say there are 5 elements, basic elements for every wine. I would the sweetness, which is just a coating effect on your tongue. The acidity, which is the mouth-watering effect. So the more you salivate, that's how you know that's acidic. The alcohol, which is the burning sensation that you get from the throat, even sometimes in the chest. Then you have the tannins. This mostly applies just to red wines, and it's the mouth-drying effect, and that you get usually in the tongue and the gums. And finally, the body. It's the overall impression, a bit like the difference between a full fat milk and a skimmed milk.
Okay. And how do you go at matching food and wine?
So I would put these in 2 main categories or 2 main ways of thinking. So the first one would be to look at the similarities. So where is an overlap in the flavors? A good way, for example, let's say you're having a chocolate brownie and you add on it a nice chocolate sauce. So you have an overlap in flavors between the chocolate, but what the sauce is going to do is going to elevate the texture of the brownie. So, and on the other hand, you have complementarity and contrast. So you are going to look out for the differences. So I would say, for example, when you match peanut butter and jam, so you have the salty, oily, fat peanut butter, and it goes so well with something as fruity as jam. It makes a great sandwich. So these are the 2 main ways of thinking. Another way of thinking would be by region, but you don't necessarily always have access to wines from all regions, or not every region has its own wines.
Oh, fair enough. And when you're talking about plant-based or vegan food, does it make a real difference to have, what's the difference between vegan and non-vegan food?
Yeah, I get asked this question a lot. And the thing is that, in my opinion, there is no difference, because when you're matching food with wine, the protein is not really going to matter. It's what you add on it. So I'm talking about dressing, I'm talking about creams, sauces, all of that. And you have this myth that says, red meat with red wine, fish, or salads with white wine. It's not necessarily the case. It's really more about what's happening on it. And when you're eating vegan food especially, you have to basically look out what's the main element if what's going to be the most prominent taste flavor that you're going to have. And it's really based on that you're going to find.
So it's not going to be veggie burger with Shiraz, no? Not necessarily.
You never know.
You never know. So do you mind to, I mean, we have quite an array in front of us. Do you want to talk to us quickly about what you have in terms of what are the canapés we have here? I'm sorry, it's just for us,
we have
but you can make them at home as well.
I'm sure everyone is jealous. We have a courgette yakitori, and we have a mango tortilla salsa.
So what do you think would be the main? What are the main flavor from? I mean, we've tried it before, so
yeah.
But what are the main flavor for you from the?
Yes. So within the courgette, you have a piece of tofu. But what really comes out the most in this is in my opinion, was the toasted sesame oil. So I'm getting a lot of smokiness, and obviously you have a lot of soy sauce in this, so there's a lot of saltiness in it.
Okay.
And then for that tortilla, it's I was expecting the mango to come out the most. There is a bit of sweetness coming out, but it's mostly the citrus effect of the lime and the salsa, and I'm getting a lot of red onions as well.
Oh, very interesting. So let's see. We'll see if it works with the wine. So what we've decided for the wine is we have 3 very different wines. We did not necessarily choose them from where they come from and from what the flavor tastes like. Yeah. Would you like to tell us what the wines are?
Yes. So I chose 3 basic, very popular types of wine. So we have a Prosecco. Everyone loves Prosecco. We have a Sauvignon Blanc from Slovenia, which is a very interesting region. And then we have a Pinot Noir from Australia. So would you like to talk to us a bit about each one in particular?
No, thank you. So basically, this Prosecco is what you expect from Prosecco, very fresh, very fruity, slightly sweet. The Sauvignon Blanc, Sauvignon Blanc is one of these grape varieties that you can almost always recognize, disregarding where it comes from. So it's very dry, very crisp, very fresh, very grassy. And this Pinot Noir is a textbook Pinot Noir. So it's quite light, quite fresh. We didn't want a wine with too much tannins for this food. After all, it's a summer, it's only 6 o'clock. We didn't want to push it too much. So,
what are the main flavors you would think that we should look out for?
In terms of the Prosecco, probably some very fresh fruits, pear, apple, also a little bit of like strawberry sometimes. When you're considering the Sauvignon Blanc, it's very citrusy, very grassy, very fresh with a lot of acidity, very mouthwatering. And the Pinot Noir would be very much like red berries with a hint of like slightly floral and slightly vanilla, slightly spicy from the oak. But we probably need to try it.
Of course. Shall we start with?
If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. Huh?
So let's start with a tortilla with a bit of Prosecco. I was expecting this. I was expecting, because we all know Prosecco can be, there's a bit of sweetness in it, and I was expecting the sweetness to match well with the mango. And in fact, I felt like the mango came out more and it became much sweeter. I'm not sure if you agree with me.
But no, it's sweeter, and the thing is I've got very low tolerance to spices. So for me, even though it's slightly sweet, although there is very little alcohol, I could feel the alcohol a little bit more. One of the things that is very important for food and wine pairing is we all are different.
It's very subjective, I was just going to say.
Yeah, so...
in my opinion, the spiciness was actually reduced, interestingly. I felt like less of, especially also of the onions and more of the mango.
No, fair enough, yeah.
Very interesting. Should we try the second wine,
Blanc,
or do you want to do the same wine?
We can do the same wine and the...
Perfect. Actually, no, let's do this way we can compare.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure. A bit more difficult. What are your thoughts on this?
But the thing is, it's this is more on similarities for me, because the wine was very citrusy, yes. And the mango salsa is quite tangy, quite fresh.
Exactly.
And the sparkle in the Prosecco tend to pinpoint exactly where the acidity, where the spices hit your tongue. Whereas this one, it's a more holistic impression all over the palette of spiciness. And funnily enough, it's a bit more toned down. I guess it's because you have much more acidity in this wine that you had in the Prosecco, but
I felt it a bit bitter, but it's like you said, there is definitely a lot of similarities between the Sauvignon Blanc and the citrus.
So it's really interesting.
Definitely.
So
now the last one.
The last one. So on paper, you should never try red wine with with salsa.
So the thing about Pinot Noir is that because, like, here's a bit of a tip, is that when you want to pair Pinot Noir with something, I would go with mushroom-based dishes, because Pinot Noir does tend to have this mushroomy, earthy flavors to it, and it goes really well with these sort of dishes. So
where are the mushrooms?
Yeah. Here it just felt a bit bitter, because I think that the food was too sweet for the wine, which takes us to a very important tip, is that the wine should always be sweeter and more acidic than the food, because if not, then the wine is going to be flabby and it's going to fall flat.
So and also, but it's I mean, for me also, this is this wine. When you're looking at this wine, you get a bit more alcohol, a bit more richness for Pinot Noir.
Yeah.
But Pinot Noir has got a high acidity, so it doesn't clash as much as you would. Sorry. So somebody, we have a questions. So Carl, did you learn everything discussed about wine from Le Cordon Bleu? I promise this question is not mine. But so what?
Honestly, I learned everything from Matthieu. He is a genius. He is an open dictionary, encyclopedia on wine. So really, it's everything on Cordon Bleu. From Cordon Bleu.
Yeah, I don't know if I should be sat here when you answer these questions.
He's not paying me, I promise.
Yeah, no, fair enough. So, what is your favorite pairing out of these first three with wine, do you think?
I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say Sauvignon Blanc. I would say that's the Prosecco.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, I guess, which is the one you prefer so far out of these three? If you were drinking them on its own.
The thing is that I do enjoy Sauvignon Blanc. It's my favorite type of white wine. And here's another tip, is that when you have vegetables that are notoriously difficult to pair with, like avocado, asparagus, go for Sauvignon Blanc, because it has such strong flavors that it's going to overpower any bitterness you get from the food. And Sauvignon Blanc is always a great wine.
So it's a good four-wheel drive.
Yes, definitely.
So we have another questions. So this is definitely for you. So what sort of wine pairing would you suggest to paneer masala? I can't take it, so I can't do that. So first, what wine would you suggest with paneer masala?
So we were talking about contrast, right? And I think the best pairing that exemplifies contrast is pairing all types of Indian cuisine with an off-dry wine. So I would suggest a Gewürztraminer or even an off-dry Riesling, because the sweetness that you get from the wine, it's going to cut through the spices. It's going to make them more palatable and much more enjoyable in the mouth. So definitely go for half-sweet, off-dry wines. It's for the paneer masala. When it comes to seaweed, like...
So the other questions, what about pairing food with that have seaweed, like in sushi, for example?
seaweed can be quite salty. What do you think would be a good?
So seaweed is quite salty, and you also have quite a lot of umami.
Yeah.
So umami is this kind of fifth taste, and it's all about texture. So it's actually this is actually the easiest kind of type of food to pair with any wine, because saltiness tend to cancel out acidity and tend to cancel out tannin. So when you have a wine that is very acidic or very drying, very tannic, seaweed, the saltiness of seaweed and the texture will definitely be able to stand up to it. So this is, for me, it's actually relatively unchallenging wine. What you don't want is too much bitterness or sweetness. But
maybe a lot of fruitiness. I was thinking maybe like a Beaujolais, because it's fruity. It has acidity.
So light red wine,
but it doesn't have tannins.
No tannins, no oak.
Yes.
So basically, probably nothing too oaked if you were having sushi.
And never pair something with high tannins with bitter food, because it increases the bitterness in the food. So like dark chocolate with Cabernet Sauvignon, it won't work well. You would need something a bit more sweet.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah. So
next one.
Yeah, well, let's try the yakitori are calling us.
Interesting. I feel like I've lost what made this interesting. So I lost the soy sauce. I lost the saltiness. I lost also, it has like some sort of sweetness to it. The glaze, I guess. I couldn't feel it really. I don't know about you.
But the whole impression is a bit dilute. So it's quite, I was not expecting that at all. But I mean, I found, the sweet, I think there is kind of a similarity going on, but not necessarily one that I was expecting and not one that I found personally pleasant.
Yeah.
Because it makes the wine feel sweeter.
Exactly.
It kills a bit of the acidity of the Prosecco, and it makes the food taste much sweeter as well.
Yeah, and I think we both said that this is quite subtle, and I feel like if the wine just overpowered the food a bit too much.
But this actually come back to the previous question when you're talking about the seaweed and the sushi. So this is actually, although it's not sushi, it's not seaweedy, but it has got the same type of flavor, and I would definitely not pair the Prosecco with it.
Yeah.
But let's see if we are luckier with the Sauvignon Blanc.
We are luckier, in my opinion, because this is something like, this brings me to another tip that I would like to share, is that when you want to match food and wine, you don't necessarily need to match flavors, you need to match intensity. So for example, let's say the food is quite light, you should match it with wine that is also very light, so that they don't overpower each other. And I feel like both of these, I don't know, they're quite light. It's just like the intensity matched well between both.
Yeah, no, you're right. Actually, there is a question that people says, are all the wine good to be paired with all plant-based foods?
All of them, really. I mean, it's any wine can work. It really depends on spices, the sauce, anything that how you cook the food. Really, it's really everything can work with anything.
I mean, and just what wine is very subjective. So, I mean, try as many combinations as you can.
Definitely.
And then see how you feel about it. It's more about the interaction, really. So, personally, I think it would be different. Everybody will have a different perception of the same matching. So let's see.
Last one.
What the red wine does to it.
I feel like the tannins have gone softer a bit, but it might have made the wine a bit too bitter. What do you think?
But the thing is, after it's a matter. I don't mind tannins, so the bitterness for me is quite welcome. But it's a whole thing. So I actually kind of like the combination because it makes the wine. You can still taste both.
Yeah, definitely.
So sometimes when you do food and wine pairing, this is actually it corresponds a little bit with. We have another question from Chinese this time, but he's asking, how can we choose the correct wine for the food? And actually, it's so the question is: does the flavor should be contrast or similar to one another?
So they can be either, really. You have to choose. If you wanna, you can either choose to have similar flavors or a bit more interestingly, choose contrast in flavor. So like we said with the Indian cuisine, you have to contrast it with sweet food. But then let's say you're having a mushroom risotto, then I would say something mushroomy, like a pinot noir.
Oh, fair enough, yeah. But the saltiness worked quite well. And also, for the same question, it was, I have, so the other question was, even if you don't have a lot of idea about or clue about wine, does it make a big deal of difference? Do you need to be a wine expert to be able to pair wine with food?
Not at all, because it's your taste in the end. You're the one who decides whether you like something or not. So it's very subjective. And you don't need to be a wine expert to know the difference between a good match and a bad match, because you feel it, It's how you react, like, no, I don't like this, or I like this.
It's very subjective. But also, when you're buying wine, so if you don't, even if you don't have a lot of experience of drinking wine, when you buy wine, you can either try to buy wine in a shop. It's always better because you can ask for advice, and people will give you an idea on, as Carl mentioned about the 5 different elements of the wine. So they can use this word to say, okay, this wine is going to be more acidic or more tannic or full-bodied or whatever. Or otherwise, if you can read, usually you will have something written on the back and try to guess from what is from the description of the wine. What's using this kind of acidity, tannins, and what you know about the food, or you want to pay. But to be honest, it's all about playing. So.
Don't be afraid to ask questions when you go to a shop, because whoever's working there has studied this and they want to show off. They want to tell you. So ask all the questions you want, and they will tell you. They will ask them, "What do you think that this would go with?" And they would gladly tell you.
And also, if you buy it from a supermarket or from a shelf where you don't have any prescriptor, anybody to give you advice, usually there would be either plenty of advice as in form of label. On the shelf, or just turn the bottle over. So actually, we talked about vegan food, but what makes a wine vegan?
Right. So unfortunately, not all wine is vegan, and in fact, not all wine is even vegetarian. So when you make wine, you usually end up with some sediments. So you have to clarify the wines, and during the clarification process, an agent is used that is not vegan friendly, a fining agent, and usually this can be either milk protein or egg whites or fish bladder, if you want, or even animal fat. So, and usually these are filtered out before bottling, but sometimes sediments, they remain in the bottle, so they're not going to be vegan or vegetarian. However, luckily enough, a lot of wines, and I think it's becoming more and more popular, right? So, are using vegan techniques like clay base, and I think it was activated charcoal, right? They use these as fining agent, and these are obviously very vegan. But most wine is vegan, I think. And what I can say is that if you don't know, there is a website called Barnivore, so BARVINORE. Go there, type whatever drink, not just wines, beers, whiskeys, everything. Just type it in the search engine and they will tell you if it's vegan or not.
Yeah, Barnivore, as the opposite of carnivore.
Exactly.
So, actually, we have another question. Does vegan wine always mean better?
In my opinion, yes.
I'm leaving now. Yeah, that's I'm joking.
It doesn't
But yeah, it doesn't affect the taste. But I mean, the thing is, it's a way of. I suppose it's a way of life as well. So if you're vegan, you want to drink vegan wine, which makes sense.
Yeah, it depends on the winemaker, on the grape. It really depends on you.
Because it's a lifestyle. I'm not vegan, but I guess for being vegan is a lifestyle decision as much as.
But also, I would say a wine doesn't have to say vegan for it to be vegan. Again, most wine is vegan, but
and we have another question. So, how do you know what or which is a good wine? And can you recommend any good wine for your years of experience?
Oh God, maybe you should be the one recommending wines.
Well, the thing is, for me, what is a good wine for me might be not a good wine for you. Exactly, yeah. I mean, we all have the strangest taste. So the most important thing is try to know what you like. It doesn't mean because nobody else likes it. I mean, I know some people who have their we dip their camembert in the morning with coffee. Do I like it? Not really. Do they like it? The answer is yes. So a good wine, it's more about trying to acknowledge what makes a wine special. Describe this wine. So is it acidic? Is it tannic? Is it full? Is it light? And then you know what you like. Do you like them acidic? So a good wine, if you like acidity, a good wine for you will be an acidic wine. If you like tannins, a good wine for you will be a tannic wine. Yeah. But
if you want like general good ones, just try Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand. You're never gonna. It's a safe choice. Try Pinot Noir from Burgundy. That's also a safe choice.
Yeah, no.
So these are the safe choices, basically.
No, fair enough. No. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, thank you very much for inviting me. That was a lot of fun. The food was great. I just hope that, like, really to encourage you all to go home, taste, try different things, reach your own conclusions, and most importantly, just remember that it's so much more. Vegan food and wine is so much more creative and diverse than you would think. Vegan food can really work with anything. It's really all up to you.
No, definitely. So we have a last question. Which wine is for a fine dining?
Like I said, Burgundy for Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir Burgundy. That's the finest you can, or even Chardonnay from there. From Burgundy, Côte de Nuit or Côte de Bois.
The thing is, fine dining is it's a wine you like, really. Yeah. The only thing with fine dining, it depends how much you spend in a restaurant.
Yeah.
So if you are in a 100-pound restaurant, probably the wine you will already be ready to spend a bit more money on wine. Yeah. But so there is no straight answer for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But something that you can enjoy, and that you can afford will be good for fine dining, really. Yeah. But thanks again for joining us, and have a lovely evening. Cheers everybody.
Cheers.
Thank you.